The flickering candlelight barely illuminated his face, but I could still see the condescending smirk playing on his lips. "Split the bill," he chuckled, the sound grating on my ears like fingernails on a chalkboard. "My dear, I think you're forgetting who you're dining with." My jaw tightened. Across the polished mahogany table, Richard Beaumont, a man whose ego was as outsized as his bank account, leaned back in his chair, a picture of smug self-satisfaction. We were at the Golden Spoon, an establishment so exclusive it practically whispered its superiority. He'd insisted on dining here, of course, a not-so-subtle reminder of his perceived status. I'd accepted the dinner invitation purely out of professional courtesy, hoping to subtly pitch him on a new tech venture. But from the moment I arrived, it had been a masterclass in his arrogance. Thinly veiled insults about my ambitious career, boasts about his latest acquisitions, and a constant dismissiveness that grated on every nerve. "No, Richard," I said, my voice dangerously calm. "I haven't forgotten. I just believe in equitable distribution, even when one party is clearly overcompensating." His smirk faltered, replaced by a flash of annoyance. "Equitable? You're talking about a few $100s. Let me handle it. It's a gentleman's gesture." He waved a dismissive hand at the waiter, who had approached with the bill, a silent signal that I was to be ignored. My blood began to simmer. It wasn't about the money. It was about the principle. It was about being seen as less, as incapable, as someone who needed to be handled. I took a deep breath, forcing a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "No, thank you, Richard. I insist." I reached for my clutch, but he was faster, slapping his credit card down before I could even open it. "Honestly," he sighed, rolling his eyes, "you're too stubborn for your own good. Just let it go." The waiter, sensing the tension, discreetly picked up Richard's card. As he walked away, Richard leaned forward, a triumphant glint in his eyes. "You know, for someone so successful, you really should learn to accept a man's generosity. It's not a weakness, you know, to be taken care of." That was it. Final straw. My smile vanished. I looked him dead in the eye, my voice low and steady. "Richard, you have no idea who you're talking to." He laughed again, a short, sharp bark. "Oh, I think I have a pretty good idea. A feisty little entrepreneur with big dreams and a slightly overinflated sense of self-importance." I didn't react. Instead, a quiet resolve settled over me. He wanted to play this game. Fine. I would play. And I would win. I watched him leave, his expensive cologne lingering in the air, a scent I now associated with arrogance and dismissal. The waiter returned, clearing the table with practiced efficiency. "Is everything to your satisfaction, madam?" he asked, his tone respectful, a stark contrast to Richard's patronizing demeanor. "Everything was illuminating," I replied, a slow smile spreading across my face. I pulled out my phone, ignoring the lingering bitterness and focusing on the spark of an idea that had just ignited. This wasn't about Richard anymore. It was about something far bigger. As I rode home in the quiet of the night, the city lights blurring outside the window, my mind raced. The Golden Spoon. It wasn't just a restaurant. It was an institution, a symbol of old money and established power. A place where men like Richard Beaumont felt entitled to dictate terms. But institutions, even gilded ones, could be bought. I pulled out my laptop the moment I walked through the door. My initial thought was simple: find out who owned the Golden Spoon. The internet, as always, was a treasure trove of information. Within minutes I had my answer. It was part of a small, exclusive hospitality group, Sterling Holdings, privately owned by a family known for their discretion and their tendency to hold onto assets for generations. This wasn't going to be a quick flip on the stock market. The challenge, however, only fueled my determination. I spent the rest of the night diving deep into Sterling Holdings' financials, their other properties, their market position. The more I researched, the clearer the picture became. They were profitable, yes, but they were also, in a very subtle way, stagnant. They weren't innovating, weren't expanding, weren't even truly modernizing. They were content to rest on their laurels, much like Richard Beaumont. A plan began to form, a daring, audacious plan that made my pulse quicken. It wasn't just about buying a restaurant. It was about buying a piece of that world, a world that had just so casually dismissed me. It was about proving a point not just to Richard but to myself. I saw the opportunity not just to own the golden spoon, but to transform it, to inject it with the very innovation and dynamism that Sterling Holdings lacked. This wouldn't be just a hostile takeover. It would be a revolution in fine dining. The next morning I called my most trusted financial advisor. "I need you to look into something for me," I said, my voice crackling with suppressed excitement. "Sterling Holdings. I want to know everything. And then, I want to know how we can acquire them." There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line. "Sterling Holdings," my advisor finally said, a hint of surprise in his voice. "That's a big bite. Are you sure about this?" "Never been surer," I replied, a predatory grin spreading across my face. "It's time to stir the pot." The next few weeks were a blur of hushed phone calls, late-night strategy sessions, and mountains of legal documents. My team, initially surprised by the audacious target, quickly caught my fever. The more they dug into Sterling Holdings, the more opportunities they uncovered. They weren't just stagnant. They were vulnerable. Their aging leadership was resistant to change, and their financial models, while stable, weren't optimized for modern market dynamics. We crafted a multi-pronged approach. First, a discreet but aggressive accumulation of their publicly traded debt. This gave us leverage, a quiet foothold without immediately tipping our hand. Simultaneously, we began building a compelling case for a hostile takeover, detailing how Sterling Holdings was underperforming and how our vision could unlock its true potential. We meticulously outlined plans for modernizing their operations, diversifying their portfolio, and yes, completely reimagining the golden spoon. The initial offer was delivered quietly, an unsolicited bid through a third-party investment firm. We wanted to test the waters to gauge their reaction. As expected, it was met with a swift and unequivocal rejection. "Sterling Holdings is not for sale," came the terse reply, delivered through their corporate counsel. It was the institutional equivalent of Richard's condescending smirk. But I had anticipated this. Rejection was just the first move in a much larger chess game. We immediately followed up with a more aggressive public tender offer, accompanied by a detailed presentation outlining our superior plan for their assets. This was designed to put pressure on their shareholders, to show them what they were missing by holding onto the status quo. The media, of course, loved it. "Tech Disruptor Eyes Hospitality Empire," screamed one headline. Another read, "Will Old Money Yield to New Vision?" My name, previously known only within tech circles, was suddenly splashed across financial pages. Richard Beaumont, I imagined, must have been reading every single one. The thought brought a small, grim smile to my face. The resistance from Sterling Holdings was fierce. They launched a full-scale defense, issuing press releases denouncing our opportunistic and misguided bid, questioning my experience in hospitality, and even attempting to rally their long-standing clients against us. They played the heritage card, the family values card, anything to paint us as uncouth outsiders trying to dismantle their legacy. But we were prepared. We countered every accusation with facts, every emotional appeal with a logical argument. We had anticipated their moves, predicted their counter-arguments, and had a response ready for each one. We showcased our proven track record of turning struggling ventures into highly profitable enterprises. We highlighted their stagnant growth and contrasted it with our ambitious, yet realistic projections. The battle raged for weeks, a high-stakes dance between lawyers, PR strategists, and financial analysts. It was exhausting, exhilarating, and every day I felt closer to my goal. This wasn't just a business acquisition. It was a personal vendetta, fueled by a dismissive laugh and a challenge I hadn't realized I'd been issued. The pressure mounted. Shareholders of Sterling Holdings were beginning to waver, their initial loyalty to the old guard chipping away under the relentless onslaught of our superior offer and compelling future vision. News outlets were now openly speculating on the inevitable outcome. The old money, it seemed, was finally facing its reckoning. Then came the call. Not from their legal team, not from their PR firm, but directly from the CEO of Sterling Holdings, an elderly gentleman whose voice, even over the phone, sounded weary. He requested a private meeting. I agreed, of course. This was it. The final act. The meeting took place in a neutral, sterile conference room downtown. The Sterling Holdings team looked defeated, their usual air of aristocratic confidence replaced by a somber resignation. The CEO, Mr. Alastair Sterling himself, sat across from me. His gaze tired but still holding a flicker of the pride that had defined his family's legacy. "You fought a good fight," he began, his voice raspy. "A very aggressive one, I might add." I simply nodded, allowing him to continue. There was no need for grandstanding now. The numbers spoke for themselves. "We've consulted with our board, our advisors, and our family," he continued, a sigh escaping his lips. "It's clear that your offer is undeniable. And your vision, while unconventional, does hold merit. It seems the world is moving faster than we perhaps realized." He paused, a heavy silence hanging in the air. "We're prepared to accept your offer. Under certain conditions, of course." The negotiations were swift, almost perfunctory. The conditions were minor, mostly concerning the treatment of long-time employees and the preservation of certain historical archives. I readily agreed. This wasn't about dismantling. It was about transforming. A month later, the headlines were even bigger. Tech maverick acquires Sterling Holdings. The golden spoon under new ownership. The news was everywhere. My phone buzzed with congratulatory messages, and even a few grudging acknowledgments from former skeptics in the tech world. But there was one message I was waiting for, one person whose reaction I truly anticipated. It came in the form of a short, almost cryptic email, forwarded to me by my assistant. The sender was anonymous, but the content was unmistakable. "Heard the news. Impressive. Perhaps you weren't so stubborn after all." RB smiled. A real smile this time, one that reached my eyes. Richard Beaumont, smug and condescending, had seen the writing on the wall. He had laughed when I offered to split the bill, subtly implying I wasn't in his league. And a month later I bought the entire restaurant and then some. It wasn't just about money. It was about power, respect, and proving that sometimes the biggest moves are born from the smallest slights. The acquisition was complete, the papers signed, the headlines faded. Now the real work began. The Golden Spoon was more than just a restaurant. It was a symbol, and I intended to transform it into a new one. This wasn't about erasing its past, but about evolving it, making it relevant for a new era. My first act was not to immediately overhaul the decor or the menu. Instead, I brought in a team of top culinary minds and hospitality innovators. We spent weeks observing, listening, and analyzing. I wanted to understand the soul of the Golden Spoon, its enduring appeal, and where it truly fell short. The old guard, while resistant to my takeover, had undoubtedly built something that resonated with a certain clientele. My goal was to broaden that appeal without alienating its loyal patrons. The result of our deep dive was a bold, yet respectful vision. We kept the name, The Golden Spoon, but redesigned the logo to be sleeker, more modern, a subtle nod to its heritage but with a forward-looking edge. The interior received a sophisticated refresh, blending its classic elegance with contemporary art and technology. Think plush velvet banquettes alongside discreet charging ports, and antique chandeliers illuminating tables embedded with subtle, interactive digital menus that could be customized to dietary needs and preferences. The biggest change, however, came to the kitchen and the dining experience. We brought in a new head chef, a young visionary known for his innovative approach to classic dishes and his commitment to sustainable, locally sourced ingredients. The menu was meticulously curated, offering refined versions of the Golden Spoons, beloved classics alongside daring new culinary creations that pushed boundaries. We introduced a chef's table experience that was truly immersive, allowing diners to witness the magic of the kitchen firsthand. But it wasn't just about the food and aesthetics. We focused heavily on the service experience. We implemented cutting-edge AI to personalize guest interactions, remembering preferences, anniversaries, and even preferred seating. Yet, this technology was always in the background, enhancing, not replacing, the warm, intuitive human touch that truly elevates fine dining. Our staff underwent extensive training, not just in serving, but in becoming genuine ambassadors of this new era of hospitality. The relaunch was a carefully orchestrated event, quiet at first, inviting key tastemakers and critics for an exclusive preview. The reviews were ecstatic. They praised the seamless blend of tradition and innovation, the exquisite cuisine, and the unparalleled service. "The Golden Spoon is reborn," declared one prominent food critic. "It's still the standard, but now it's also the future." The reservations poured in, a mix of the old clientele curious about the buzz, and a new generation eager to experience this fresh take on luxury. The restaurant, once a symbol of old money, was now a vibrant testament to the power of transformation, a place where innovation and elegance coexisted beautifully. And yes, I made sure to reserve a prime table for myself on opening night, just in case Richard Beaumont happened to drop by. He didn't, but the satisfaction of knowing what I had built, sparked by his dismissive laugh, was more than enough. The success of the new Golden Spoon wasn't just a win for me. It was a powerful statement. It proved that my approach, blending cutting-edge technology with traditional industries, injecting innovation into established legacies, was a potent formula. The media, which had initially focused on the drama of the takeover, now pivoted to celebrating the transformative power of vision and execution. I was no longer just a tech disruptor. I was a strategic innovator, capable of breathing new life into any sector. This reputation opened doors to opportunities one hadn't even considered. Suddenly, I was approached by struggling luxury brands, outdated hotel chains, and even traditional manufacturing companies, all eager to see if I could work my magic on their businesses. I was careful, though. Not every challenge was worth taking on, and not every industry was ready for my brand of disruption. My focus remained on sectors ripe for technological integration and a fresh perspective, where heritage often overshadowed progress. My next significant venture was in the luxury boutique hotel sector. I acquired a small chain of historic but neglected hotels in prime locations. These properties, much like the Golden Spoon, were steeped in history but suffering from outdated amenities and a lack of modern guest experiences. My team and I applied the same principles, preserving the architectural integrity and unique character of each hotel while integrating smart room technology, personalized concierge services powered by AI, and immersive local experiences curated through data analytics. The goal was to offer not just a stay, but a truly bespoke journey. This was followed by investments in sustainable luxury manufacturing. I identified a niche in high-end custom-made goods that had lost their luster due to inefficient production methods and a disconnect from modern consumer values. By implementing advanced robotics for precision craftsmanship and leveraging blockchain for transparent sourcing, I revitalized these businesses, making them both profitable and ethically sound. The demand for truly sustainable luxury exploded, and my ventures quickly became industry leaders. Through it all, a core philosophy emerged: respect the past, embrace the future. It wasn't about erasing history but about building upon it, using technology not to replace human connection but to enhance it. My portfolio grew, forming a diversified empire that spanned hospitality, retail, and specialized manufacturing, all linked by a commitment to innovation, quality, and a distinctly personalized approach. The quiet satisfaction of building this new empire was profound. It wasn't about revenge, not anymore. It was about proving a point, not to Richard Beaumont, but to myself and to an industry that often underestimated vision from unexpected places. The man who had laughed at me for wanting to split a dinner bill had, inadvertently, fueled the fire that forged my next major success. Every time I stepped into one of my revitalized establishments, I was reminded that sometimes the most significant victories begin with the smallest slights. And sometimes the best way to prove someone wrong is to simply buy the table they're sitting at, and then the entire restaurant.